So if you clicked on this video, I'm pretty sure you noticed that Escape from Tarkov increased the level that is needed to access the flea market from level 5 to level 10. We all know without the flea market we have pretty garbage gear and you can't sell anything you find in raids. And in order to reach level 10 you need 60,000 experience points. And experience can be gained in 4 categories. And of course you also gain experience in quests, but I'm not gonna talk about that here, it's so obvious, just accept every quest you have, because most of the beginner quests you actually complete without noticing. So killing scavs for example. Apart from quests we have 4 categories for experience gain: killing, looting, traversing the map, and treating ourselves. So the first one is probably the easiest one. You obviously get experience for killing PMCs and scavs. For each kill you get a minimum of 100 XP. If you manage to land a headshot, you get 120 XP minimum on top of that. So hitting the head is actually like having a cake and eat it too. Now the 100 XP for a kill and 120 for a headshot actually depend on the player level and the gear they had. It gets a lot more if they're good geared and of high level. And the last category is just kill streak. The more you kill, the more you get. And the last category you get here is inflicted heavy damage, but we're not gonna talk about something that only gives 6 XP. Next on the list, we have the looting category, and there is the first point where some things may not be as obvious as in the category before. So the probably more obvious thing is if you loot a box or something, you get searching experience for uncovering the gray areas. But you also have looting experience for actually picking up the item. So it makes sense to just pick everything up, and if you don't need it, just throw it back on the ground. This way you get the looting experience for the item. Quick side note, you don't get any experience for ammunition. Don't know why. So usually one stash is around 75 experience points, or 73 in this case, and the next example lands at the exact same spot. So it's almost equal to a kill. Then we have looting bodies, and you get experience just for quickly pressing F on a dead body for searching experience. The amount of XP depends on the player level and the gear. So you get a lot more XP if you loot somebody who has a much higher level and is well geared. Same goes for scavs, of course. The guards from the boss get you around 200 to 300 experience points for looting. So it makes sense to, if you see a dead body, just quickly go near it and press F to loot it. You don't have to actually pick the loot, but just start looting the body for the experience points. Also, if you're in a hurry, don't loot everything, but if you want to pick something, then pick the weapon. You can't just put it in your backpack and throw it in the ground again, because the weapon is usually the part that is worth the most experience points. We also have a category for running around the map, but sadly the devs seem to have forgotten a part there, because there is actually an exploration bonus, but you seem to only get that on factory, none other maps. So pretty bad there, or sad, but you get the extraction bonus for 300 experience points, which is, yeah, it's pretty small amount of XP, but if you survive a raid, you get a multiplier at the end to your total experience gained during the raid. So you get 1.5 times the amount if you survive. So surviving is pretty lucrative in terms of experience. Then we have the treatment category. And this one is pretty simple. It's basically whenever you take damage and you take care of the wounds or heal yourself, you get experience points. So for example, if you have a bleeding and you treat the bleeding, you get experience points. In terms of healing, you usually get around as much experience as you heal in hit points. And that brought me to an idea. What if we just keep healing ourselves and constantly taking damage? So in order that you don't have to try it out, I did this in a 20-minute run. It was painful, yeah, but all for science, right? So I walked into the barbed wire and kept healing, and that for 20 minutes, to see if there's a limit for healing points. And the result is... no, there's not. You can actually keep doing that forever, but it's pretty boring and somebody is gonna hear that, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it was fun trying out. Another part is food and drink consumption, but you get so little experience points that I would just completely ignore that. So knowing all of that, our goal is to kill some scavs and PMCs if we find them, but PMCs are usually a bit dangerous in low level. We also want to find a lot of dead bodies. There it doesn't matter if we killed it or somebody else, we just want to loot some dead bodies for the experience points. Then if we can, treat ourselves, so taking damage is actually a good thing here. And then at the end, if we can, loot some stashes and escape alive to get the multiplier. So there are basically two ways to achieve this. We have a very aggressive way, and that is basically going to factory. And you have a more subtle way, which is, I did it on customs, it's a very basic map. And what changes is the relation of experience between kills and looting. So in factory you will get a lot more experience points through killing, and on customs it's usually around half-half from my experience. So if you like the aggressive playstyle, then factory is just amazing. You can actually reach level 10 in just 1 hour if you're lucky. If you prefer a more subtle playstyle, then here's the timestamp to where we talk about a customs run. So when loading into factory, you have to consider that at the beginning your gear is very limited. An MP5 is actually a very nice choice, but you have to come across some knives first. So maybe do a scuff run before, or head in with what you have. And then basically kill everything that walks into your path. Preferably with headshot, as you remember, because of bonus points. Scavs usually tend to come where there is noise and their mates are dying, so you can actually stack them, like in this example right here. And when you feel safe, then start looting your stack of scavs. And as we talked before, at least start looting and pick the weapon. If nothing else, then just pick those or do those two things. But it's still factory, so be very careful of other players because you don't want to die. You want the multiplier, because 1.5 times the experience is a lot. So when you feel pressured or something, it's better to just extract. And there you go. We made almost 7,000 experience points in 9 minutes, and I actually fucked up a bit. Weren't a lot of headshots, as you can see at the end. And otherwise, I couldn't loot every scav because I got pressured by a group of PMCs. So it would have been possible to reach 10,000 experience points here in 9 minutes. And if you calculate that up, you can reach level 10 in 1 hour. That's a really optimistic estimate, but you can see what's possible with that. If running on the ground is too aggressive for you, you can always pick a Mosin and sniper a bit on top. I like that a lot, but you always have to remember, try to land those headshots, which isn't that easy with a Mosin sometimes, especially if you get pressured like here. And in order to loot the bodies, you have to get down, and there you're very vulnerable with a Mosin, because if you miss your shot, you're dead. Then again, loot the bodies, pick the weapon at least, and there you go. Just one, friendly reminder, if you're on top, yeah, you can see everybody, but if somebody checks the spot and sees you, you're usually so screwed because you can't run away. So if you want a sniper on top, then, hold back a bit. Don't be too noisy and attract everybody's attention. Now to the more subtle playstyle. On customs, looting has much more weight than in factory. If you know all the stash locations, if not, I'll link a video up here. So if you know the stash locations, go check them. Search everything and pick everything up. If you don't need it, just throw it on the ground again, doesn't matter. But pick it up first so you get the looting experience. Then try to get some scavs, preferably with headshots. Watch out for other players. And again, if you manage to kill some, you get a lot of XP. Now, if you don't have the keys yet, then no worries. Just let somebody else open the doors for you. And again, if you manage to kill some PMCs that are on a much higher level, if you're lucky, they have some pretty interesting weapons with them. And that's another, I think, advantage if you go on customs, because if you survive the raid, then not only with some experience points, but also with some nice gear usually, and some additional loot that you can sell as soon as you unlock the flea market. And again, it's just a mix of looting and killing whatever you see, preferably with headshot. Then of course, try to extract alive, that would be nice, or get out alive. Again, because you want the multiplier, 1.5 times is a lot. And as you can see, we made a lot less experience points than on factory, that's just the way it is. And also the ratio that you can see in a second. Yeah, the ratio is almost 1-to-1. Killing and looting. That's just the way it is. On customs, looting has much more weight here, but that's to expect because on customs you don't have that many scavs in ratio to the stashes and so on. But again, the advantage here, if you survive, you usually have some nice loot with you that you can sell as soon as you have the flea market unlocked. Now, another thing on customs, which is pretty nice, if you encounter the boss and his guards, this is a lot of XP if you manage to take him down. I would recommend you do that with a Mosin or something, because they're usually pretty good geared. So if you try to do that with, I don't know, Saiga 9 or an AK with PS ammo, that's not gonna work, you're gonna get screwed. So, but if you have a Mosin, then pick them apart, and if you loot them, you can see you get a lot of experience points. I didn't have a backpack here, which was so stupid. I regretted that for a whole hour, but that's just the way it is. Another tip, the dead body on customs. This is free 100 experience points. You get 75 experience points for the unknown key. So that is a lot for a few seconds of looting. And here again, the overview of the raid with the boss and his 4 guards. As you can see, I got a lot of experience points in 11 minutes, almost 1000 per minute. And I didn't kill that many, just 7 in total, and 1 was a PMC. But since they were pretty heavily geared and were guards and the PMC was of high level, the elimination is worth way more. Also the headshot bonus. So you see that if you kill heavily geared players or scavs, you get a lot more. But again, it's pretty risky, right, with your beginner gear. But that's basically it. In summary, try to land headshots, loot everything you see. You can always throw it on the ground if you don't need it, but at least open the loot menu. That gives you a lot of experience points extra for basically doing nothing, and try to get out alive. And when you pair that with some quests, you should be able to reach level 10 in around 2 to 3 hours. And don't get frustrated if you struggle at the beginning, because I know the feeling. Without the flea market it was just hell. I couldn't get any rubles, had to go in with pistols or use my scav to get at least some gear. So I know the struggle, just keep going, you will reach level 10 and then everything is gonna be just wonderful.